Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be here to talk about the innovative field of customer experience management when applied to the telecommunications space. So what are we going to talk about in the next 10-15 minutes? Basically, we will look at how we can turn the insights that are available to the telco operators and how they can turn it into very concrete actions and outcomes to manage the customer experience. Now, customer experience in the telco space has been talked about. It's been talked about both from a fairly negative connotation. We have had examples in AT&T where there was a lot of bad press. We have had various iPhone launches that have congested the network, and customers have been really complaining heavily on the social media. But there have been some very good positive experiences when you provide a fairly positive customer experience. Then there is a lot of not just good publicity, not just your brand, but real hard cash comes to the table. And that is what we are going to focus on. So when we do our discussions with all the key telecom service providers in the industry, surprise, 82% of the respondents rate customer experience and improving that customer experience at the heart of their strategy, highly above reducing the OPEX or increasing the data capacity. And why is that so? It's becoming increasingly important that not all consumers are alike, not all customers are alike. You got to take care of your high value customers. You have to take care of your high net worth individuals, your high spenders, and you have to provide them with a unique experience that makes them stick around. On an average, what we are seeing is 40% of the high value customers are likely to churn. So while there is a high amount of churn which is happening in the lower segment, there is an increasingly high potential for high value customers to churn out, and that is dangerous. So, what can telcos do about it in this? Agreeing that customer experience at the heart of the strategy, what concrete actions can be done about it? And this is, in a sense, Nokia Siemens Networks fairly central piece of our strategy to provide fairly comprehensive framework around measuring and managing customer experience. So far, what has happened is that telcos have been sitting on a gold mine of insights. But what have they used to manage customer experience and do their campaigns has been fairly limited to the billing data. And one statement that I would like to make here is that there is, as I would show in the next 5 minutes, there is tremendous amount of information available about individual customer experiences that can really be turned around to increase revenues, to manage retention in a much better and efficient way, and to increase the acquisition. So what is the most typical retention strategy? At the end of the contract period of high value customers, offer them a smartphone. Now this strategy or similar strategies are becoming extremely expensive. So the whole customer life cycle, starting from him being aware of your services, buying or trying your services, using it, and then moving on to the care phase where he makes a decision to churn out. Traditional approach has been to take care towards the end with offering some kind of a candy. Whereas what we are able to do now is that through the entire life cycle, through all the customer touch points, make sure that the customer has an excellent experience and turn it around into a fairly profitable lifetime for the operator. So it is not just a nice thing to do that you love your customers and you put in, but you actually see the returns coming back. Before we jump into the actual cases, just giving you a snapshot of where we come into this. So obviously we have been fairly strong in all the network capabilities as well as the billing and OSS capabilities that are there, which gives us a unique capability to take all the necessary insights out from the resources, whether it is HLR, whether it is billing data, whether it is prepaid, whether it is the probes. So we whether it is device management, since we have all these products in-house and a fairly competent ecosystem around it, we are able to harness a tremendous amount of insights out of it. and then put it into an what we have also delivered is look at the holistic aspect. It's not only the service, it's also the device that is being used, it's also the subscriber profiling, whether it is price sensitive, not price sensitive, quality sensitive, not quality sensitive, what has been the usage, and last but not the least, what we measure from the network is only one aspect, but the human perception is going to be very different from that. So how do we mash this together into building the right processes? So I would quickly jump to the actionable items. When we have delivered this, some of the cases, so I would just quickly talk about one of the case to begin with, where the customer experience management was utilized by the CSP. They needed a flexible system to measure the mobile broadband quality. They had various vendors, and not only did they just want to measure the service, they wanted to measure the service on an individual customer or customer segment level and find out what are the real bottlenecks of the experience of that customer. So the insight that came out is that a fairly high amount of subscribers were just simply not able to connect. Forget about the speeds, they were just not able to connect. Upon drilling down, we were able to find the insight that they were not able to connect because they were trying, but the device settings were not correct. A large majority of the subscribers were not provisioned correctly, either in the devices or in the subscription databases. And that insight could not have come from anywhere else. It cannot come from the billing data because billing data only captures successful records. So no amount of BI system could have generated this insight. As a result of this, they were able to provide automated actions that when such an event happens, the subscriber automatically gets sent the right settings, or a customer care agent can call them. And before even they call the customer care, the problem is fixed. Now, I know that they, in a few weeks after using this system, they have been able to identify about 4 million such subscribers in a matter of weeks. And they have been able to send the settings, and about 1.2 million subscribers have started using the system and generating revenue. So that's a huge amount of revenue upliftment. We're talking about millions of dollars that has happened in a matter of weeks after utilizing this. So this is a concrete, hard example of, while at the same time you are increasing the customer experience, but you're also able to increase your revenue and the uptake of the service. Another key example, another success story that happened in Orange, Switzerland, was that a lot of customer care agents are, as we all know, they are kids out of the college. They have no information about the network technology. They are taking calls, they have a certain process, and they go by it. Almost 80% of the technology problems just get escalated to the second level, which is very expensive. The customer needs to get a repeat call. He doesn't get the solution in the first phase, and if he's lucky, maybe in 1 or 2 days he would probably get a resolution to his problem. Now, if you go back to the previous structure, because you are able to get this insight out from the network, it's fairly simple process also to expose this to the customer care agents. And therefore now, after Orange Switzerland has deployed this solution, their customer care agents, without any special training, are now able to automatically fix the issues which are fairly technical in nature, because all that has been built into the process and all the relevant technical backend integrations have been done. So as a result of this, during the first call itself, 50% of the cases can be solved. What 50% of the all those cases were going to the second level and they were increasing the call amount. So what does it mean? Customer experience is much better and there is hard cash on the table, because when you call centers handle call, they charge you. Especially the second level technical calls are probably 3 or 4 times the price of the first level call. So close to a few billions of euros have been saved already in this network. Sorry, few millions of euros have been saved already in this network. So just a few insights. I will not go through the entire process. Another use case was that a European customer had a fairly negative net promoter score for mobile broadband service for dongles. but they didn't know what is a key cause. This was a customer perception issue. This has got nothing to do with the technical KPIs. So we were able to use a fairly comprehensive agent on the mobile phone, which did a very quick survey after every session and gave them a very, very good summary that while they were thinking that the issue was about connectivity, the issue was not about connectivity. It was mainly around streaming, and it was mainly around the jitter in the network. And once they were able to fix that issue, they were much better able to improve the the NPS score of the service. Traditional systems from a campaign management perspective take into account only the billing usage data. One other use case that we have built into our customer experience framework is the social analytics, whereby we analyze what's the propensity of the subscriber to churn out, what is the social revenue of this particular subscriber, not only his own ARPU, but because of the fact that he's calling 50 people whereas somebody else could be calling only 5 people, what is his social revenue, and what is the right offering that makes sense that he's most likely to accept. So based on that, fairly focused campaign can be built around utilizing his social revenue and the propensity to take the offers. And the net result of this campaign, if I remember, was that whatever traditional methods they were using, they were able to double the amount of return from the campaigns within a matter of 1 month. This is another case where, and these all that you see are various use cases of customer experience management. So it's a fairly comprehensive use case rich framework that comes with the best of the insights that we have gathered based on our discussions with all the CSPs, and we have prioritized that. Now this is a case of a operator who has got 50 companies, 16 affiliates all over the world. You can pretty much guess which one this is. It's definitely also there in India. And what we do is we do a global benchmarking for them. So while all the network insights from the individual networks are coming, we are able to process them and give a benchmarking across different countries. They get to know, for example, which devices, where their high value customers are facing problem with which devices. Now that is not there in any of the other information sources. Okay, so I would just the rest of the material is there on the deck, so I would quickly just go to how the industry is perceiving us based on all these success stories that we have had in a fairly short span of the last 1 year. Okay.
You actually use agent on customers' telephones or subscriber unit. So you download these agents. Do you download these agents with the customer's permission, or how do you really?
Okay. So so first of all, this is one of the use cases, but in that what we do is we have an opt-in where some of the friendly users are then encouraged with various strategies depending on their profile. What they would be, some people would be more opt to get, if take this if you offer them a discount. Some others may have different reasons, or the employees of the CSP, and then it gets a fairly good sample to the marketing research department.
Okay, so but the point is that it will be using resources while doing your thing. I mean,
right.
Network resources. So
yes.
Will the customer be charged for something like that?
It's a fairly simple matter to zero rate that, and since we are also the billing and iron vendor, we can consult them how to do that. So it's very easy to identify that IP address.
The other thing is that all of this is integrated into your OMC, because OMC has all this data. Basically, through the OMC points you are picking it up.
The problem is that standard OMCs, and we have been an OMC vendor, do not collect individual customer specific information.
Okay.
So what we are doing here is we are building very specific data sources, which is either probes or our own technology.
Where are you building these sources?
Well, that's a great point, because we need to do that into the between the on the packet core network, on the GNGI interfaces. We need to build it on SGSN, GGSN. We may need to build that on the billing to collect the data, or the IONs.
Is it with only your equipment?
No.
Or
no.
So there must be standard then. What's the standard interfaces that are you using?
There are these are fairly standard interfaces. All these interfaces are standardized. We are just putting sources to listen to what's happening in this interface, and the technology around here is how do you minimize the amount of data that's going to the centralized platform.
Thank you.
Sorry, just a very small question which is too much of a big picture, perhaps related to what you were saying, but I'm not a
Sure.
technical person. Where is the synergy between what NSN does in an equipment sense and the kind of analytics that you're doing here?
Okay.
Is it just a additional, completely unrelated product offering,
No.
or?
So this is a very interesting question. Operators so far have been only using the billing and usage records and subscriber profile to build their marketing campaigns. What we are saying is there is loads of information in the network data, which is errors and insights into how the services are being utilized. So two problems. One, the billing information, traditional information comes after days. An account manager for an operator, when he goes to visit his enterprise customer, has to ask 10 people in his organization to gather the kind of data. What we are saying is we can get this very, very quickly right from the network element itself, and of course also from the billing, and give you a very, very comprehensive view. Number two is that we already have had this 50 deployments, so to say, and therefore we have a collection of all the right insights that are required. So it's not a bespoke development that we will start. We have ready-made software which we will give you, and we will say you got 50 predefined dashboards and reports. You don't need to think about. We will give you this 50. If you give us 10 more, we will build them.
You are talking about customer experiences, and this whole process looks like one way. It's your perception of what customer is facing a difficulty or what he is thinking. But there is no way customer is able to reach you and say that I have this difficulty. Or
Very, very good point. So when we were talking about the agent, and if you look at the marketing research company of the arm of the operator, they do these kind of surveys with a sample size of 1,000. With this agent, we are enabling millions of subscribers to come and give their feedback on what was the individual service experience immediately after they have used it. So it's a very comprehensive information that comes out where we can calibrate. This is what we measure from the KPIs in the network side. This is what the voice of the customer is, and then calibrate it accordingly. And what we can come up with is what we call as a customer experience index. So for every of your high value customer, we can have an index, and then we can monitor how that index is moving.
So I have two questions. The first question is all the examples you presented is of global companies. So is there a contribution of NSN India into this product? And second question is, so there are, for example, traditional analytics company like SAS. So your value add over them is you're getting the network data also into it?
Yeah. So first question is, the biggest reference that we have is Bharti in India. Okay, we have done a huge deployment here and a very successful deployment, and many of the use case numbers that I used were coming from India. So we've been very active here. Secondly, talking about companies like SAS, etc., or business objects, these basically, as I said, it's a lot of unsuccessful cases that are missed in the BI. Where is the customer experience getting maximum affected is because when there is an unsuccessful call, and those information is not in the BI. One. Secondly, the time taken and the number of departments that are there to crunch this data are so many that it takes days, and also there is no comprehensive picture being built. What we have, as I said, we have got ready-made insights and dashboards available which take device, network, billing, usage, all this information pre-combined into very nice views which an enterprise account manager or a customer care agent, all these people need. So we built those views already.
One mischievous question, since you mentioned Bharti. IBM is out there doing the work for them.
Sorry?
IBM is doing the server and network management.
Yes.
And some of the analytics that you're doing seems very close to the kind of stuff they would have either promised or can potentially do. Is there a somebody stepping on somebody else's toes here?
Since you asked a mischievous question, I will have a mischievous reply. So, right. Now, I think there's nothing hidden here. IBM has deployed a service quality management framework there. But as I said, that is service quality. What we are deploying is customer experience. Service quality never goes into the customer specific aspect. What it does, it models radio core and puts a service model across. But if you want to dip out Mr. Ajay, what was his experience, or my shell customers, what was their experience? SQM systems will never give that. So this is going right down to the customer granularity. So an account manager going to an enterprise has exactly the experience and call drops in locations for and look at the power of this, getting it real time in 30 minutes rather than waiting for days for that information to come out.
The diagnostics, which is very good.
Sorry?
The diagnostic.
That is exactly the reason why Bharti went for us. Thank you very much.